Welcome back to the workshop and to part 2 of this build series that I'm very excited for. Thank you guys for coming back. Right now we're going to be working on the trigger of this rifle. This is one of the biggest critiques of these Savage rifles is the AccuTrigger. I have another rifle with the AccuTrigger. I really like the AccuTrigger. These triggers here on these base model Savage rifles are not known to be very good triggers. They have a pull weight of right around 6 pounds from factory. They're not adjustable, and in case you didn't know, 6 pounds is a very heavy trigger pull. So there are a couple critiques about the Savage trigger. One is that it has this side-to-side play. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm just pushing this trigger from side to side there. It's not a very refined trigger. The second thing is that it is a really heavy trigger pull. So of course the action is clear. This is a Wheeler trigger pull scale, and let's just go from the lull of the trigger here. So on our first pull we pulled 5.5 pounds. See that? So this you pull right here, and where it disengages is where the stop gets left. So we have 5.5 pounds. Let's try another pull just to see where we get. I'm going to pull from the other side this time. Okay, we got right on 5 pounds there. Let's try one more. And 5 3/4, almost 6 pounds there. So we're averaging between 5.5 and 6 pounds. The last thing, the last real critique with this trigger is it's a very spongy trigger. So after your sear releases, or you pull the trigger and after the gun fires, you still have all this sponginess back here that you don't want. The trigger doesn't really stop at any point. You just stop being able to pull it any further because of the spring weight. So it's really spongy. Now you could go and invest a couple $100 in a Timney trigger, okay, but that wouldn't be much of a budget build in comparison to the value of this rifle and what we're doing here. What I have got is the CARBO Pro Trigger Spring Kit, and this was only, as you can see there, $29.99. It was a little bit hard to find. I found that at a shop out in BC. And yeah, for $30 we get a kit that addresses every one of those problems we just talked about. So the Savage axis is really simple to break down. You just have 2 Allen head screws here. And don't worry, when you break this open you're not going to have any components flying everywhere, springs flying out. It's nothing intimidating like that. Just 2 simple screws, and then the stock just pulls right away. Of course, your trigger guard assembly here is a separate piece. Just locks in, so that can fall away. We'll put this aside for now. Now right here is where we have our trigger assembly. Like I said, you could get a Timney trigger that's just a bolt-in single unit here for this, but we're going to use our factory trigger. We're just going to change a few things here in the back end. So all of that side-to-side play is because we don't have a very tight fit. Notice how much I can play this trigger side to side here. This kit comes with 2 little shims, we'll see there in a moment, to fit in there to remove that play. It also comes with some nice gel as well, some nice grease there. Now this spring back here is a very thick spring, so we're going to replace that with a lighter gauge spring. We have an over travel screw right here that we're also going to replace with one that's in that little kit. First things first, remove this little retainer clip. Be careful you don't lose it while taking it off. Success. Now we can gently remove the pin here. Keeps our trigger in place. Pull that out. And here we have it. Here's our trigger. Now you can order, instead of ordering an entire standalone trigger kit, you can order a new trigger here. I don't see much point for that. It's not going to be that much different than this, and then with those 2 shims, this will be just nice. Now here is the factory trigger spring, which is very heavy duty. Here is the aftermarket CARBO spring. It's you can tell that it's a much finer coil that can compress much more easily than this real heavy one. So this screw, or this spring, is actually just threaded in here. So you just unthread that. We don't have to touch this this over travel screw here. It's so short anyways, it's not affecting anything within the trigger. We'll this new over travel screw will go into, or thread into, the one that the spring was in. Now this screw gets threaded all the way in until it reaches the end of the threads, or just flush. I'm putting a little dab of semi-permanent blue Loctite, 242 I believe it is, on there, just to fix it in place, just so it's not backing off on me. That's all. It fits pretty slick there, so a little bit of blue Loctite. Notice how much longer this over travel spring is, or how much more soon that trigger will bring up. And our CARBO spring will just sit right over there like that. So we'll have a light compression, and then it'll stop as soon as it hits that over travel spring. Isn't that nice? Here are two little shims to go on either side of the trigger to give that a perfect fit. And they've even included just a very tiniest amount of this super lube, which is a synthetic grease to get in around your shims there, because it's going to be a much tighter fit. It's nice, kind of a nice little thing they added to this kit here. Now this might be a little bit of a trick to get in there, because it's going to be a pretty tight fit now. So I'm going to use a little bit of that super lube grease, just put on that shaft there. Some on the washer. Not the easiest thing I've done. Come on, old girl. Come on, we almost got you. Ah, there we go. So that's it, our clip is on. We have our assembled trigger. Notice we have zero side-to-side play. Of course, we added in, it's amazing that these are milled with that much space to fit a washer, a thin washer, or a shim on both sides of the trigger. That's amazing that there's that much gap in there. Then we have that lighter spring, and look how soon, that's all the pull we have. That's maybe a mil? Maybe a mil of pull, and we bring up, there's no sponginess past that because we're brought up on a dead stop there. So let's see what that feels like. Let's cock that bolt. Oh, what a difference. Let's get that trigger scale in here. I haven't tested this, haven't tested it off camera. Let's see what it looks like here. Try to pull straight back. We have 2.5 pounds there. Let's try it again. A little over 2.5 pounds. We've reduced this trigger weight by over 50%. Little less than 2.5, so averaging around 2.5 pounds there. No play now. A beautiful feeling trigger for what, $29.99? Let's get it back in the gun. I can't believe I hadn't found that trigger kit until now. I'm going to say that anyone purchasing a Savage Axis brand new to pick up one of these kits. I mean, the value, what you get, the difference it makes on that poor trigger. It makes it feel like the trigger of a much, much, much more expensive gun. Much higher quality trigger. And for that price and that little amount of work or tearing apart your gun, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Let's feel it now for the first time in the gun. No play in the trigger whatsoever. That is something else. That is something else. There's just so little resistance. That is a nice feeling trigger there now. That's it for this video. Thank you guys for coming along. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you think this this trigger kit was a good investment, you think I should have went a different direction, or you think the trigger's fine, let me know your thoughts. Hit that like button, subscribe down below. Please come back for the next part of this project. We have got some good stuff coming up, and I don't want you to miss it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.